Initially, I was just going to do a video on the Miraculous Ladybug Season 6 trailer, but a full episode just dropped and I figured it would be better to review this whole episode instead. Hello everybody, I'm Fable Twilight, and today we're going to be discussing Miraculous Ladybug Season 6, Episode 2? 3? I'm honestly not sure. The episodes are already starting to release out of order, and all I know is that we're missing at least one episode, probably two, prior to this one that was just released. So I went ahead and gave this episode a watch, and I'm gonna go through it with you all and discuss my thoughts and possible critiques throughout the episode. This means that there will be spoilers ahead, so I'm just warning you now. So we start off the episode with Lila, or Cerise, writing something down in her journal while she sits in what I'm assuming is her lair of sorts. We see that Nuru is with her, but he appears to be completely frozen in place. Honestly, after the way he was treated by Gabriel for so many years, he deserves so much better than this. But the episode jump cuts to Alia, who's going over Hawkmoth's multiple identities with Marinette. I also wanted to just quickly add in the fact that I personally really love Alia's new model. I know many people don't, and quite a few people have critiqued her new short hair, but personally, I love the shorter style on her, and I think the changes that they made to her in this new animation style are far better than some of the changes on some of the other characters. Anyway, in proper Marinette fashion, she's freaking out, primarily because she's coming to realize that they knew far more about Gabriel than they do about this new villain. Marinette also starts spiraling because she gave out all of the Miraculouses, which I can't really blame her for because we all know what happened last time she didn't have all of them in her box with her. Alia's attempt to reassure her also isn't super, reassuring, because we've seen these holders become akumatized even after they were given a Miraculous, so her claiming that they know how to fight akumas off just doesn't really have the same effect that I'm sure she meant it to have. But regardless, Marinette buys it and instead focuses her panicking on Adrien. It's made very clear, very quickly, that she's terrified to be alone with him even though they're dating, and a large portion of this episode centers around watching her freak out about being in this new relationship. I completely understand her nervousness, though I also understand why so many people feel it's tiring and were claiming her character development went out the window. They are a brand new couple, and I think being worried is definitely normal, but she's placing Adrien on this high, perfect pedestal, and so I do understand why some people feel like she shouldn't be acting like this 6 seasons in. But she is still a teenager, and a very overly worried one at that, so I'm not surprised. Also, the new intro sequence looks amazing in my opinion, and I think I'm one of the few that really does enjoy the new animation. It's definitely going to be a change, and takes away from the nostalgia feel I've grown up with, but Marinette looks amazing, Alia looks amazing, and mostly everything else looks amazing. Now I say mostly because out of everything I've seen so far, the only design change I'm not super into is Adrien's. I feel like his hair looks too much like Cat Noir's, and something else just feels off? I don't know if his eyes are more glossy or what, but I have the same issue looking at his Cat Noir design as well. I think Nino looks really great, and I liked the change of having the heroes be allowed to help out for matters that don't involve an akumatized villain. It was definitely a change to see them transform on a public bus, and I liked seeing them take care of it while giving Adrien and Marinette a bit of a breather. After the bus is taken care of, Nino and Alia come to the conclusion that Marinette and Adrien need to be allowed to deal with their relationship in private, and I'm glad that they took this approach, just so that Marinette can stop panicking so much around him. Obviously, when she finds out they've been left alone, she does panic, and she keeps panicking over trying to be the perfect couple the entire time they're alone together. She starts finding excuses to run off and transform, mostly stopping other heroes from taking care of things just so she has a distraction. It's also clear that she's kind of backpedaling on her decision to let the other heroes take care of issues by themselves, so she's basically killing two birds with one stone by getting involved. We see new designs for Ryuko, Miss Hound, and Polymouse, and while I love each of their new looks, I must admit I think Miss Hound got the biggest glow up out of all of them. I also like that Nino and Alia are seen trying to get information on the new villain, and throughout this episode I thought that their interactions with each other were incredibly cute and wholesome. During their interviews, however, is the only time I feel we really realize we're missing episodes, because they clearly talk to others that have been akumatized since the villain change, yet we haven't seen this happen on our end yet. I really do hope the whole releasing episodes out of order thing stops after this, because we've seen with these later seasons that they aren't able to get away with it the same way they could in season 1 or even season 2. And yet, this has still been an ongoing issue plaguing the Miraculous fandom since its release. Some smaller things to note: we see a small child showing her drawings to others and being brushed off, so it's pretty clear she'll be this episode's akumatized villain. Cat Noir also takes note of Ladybug's panicked behavior and talks to her about it, and then we see Cerise interact with the child she's akumatizing. Now, this part of the episode was really cool to see because we got to see more of how she intends to work with the butterfly Miraculous. She remains this faceless, voice-shifting entity we saw in the London special, and the way she manipulates and talks to this literal child comes off as incredibly unsettling. She's clearly a stark contrast from Gabriel, and while he also had his moments of akumatizing children, I don't remember him ever being this pushy and manipulative. It really just shows that there's nothing too low for her character, and it's a terrifying yet fascinating and fresh change from what we've seen previously. The akumatized villain herself is also significantly more powerful, and we see Ladybug and Cat Noir struggle even with Rena Rouge and Carapace being there to help. Ladybug tries talking to her, and even though I've always known that the butterfly user talks to their akumatized people in their heads, the zoom-ins and tone of Cerise's voice as she's trying to convince this child not to agree with Ladybug literally makes these scenes feel like psychological abuse. It adds a whole new level of unsettling that Gabriel just never had, and honestly, I love the change. They defeat the villain as expected for an episode this early in the season, and Ladybug gives the little girl a charm to keep her safe. I thought the pound it with the little girl was also really cute, might I add. And eventually we flash back to Marinette's room with Alia. Tiki does another one of her little spitting things and makes a charm, or Quagatama, I believe she called it, for Alia to have. Marinette explains that if something were to happen to her, Tiki would bring Alia her earrings, and through the charm she would have access to all of Marinette's memories from the day she started being Ladybug to the day she stops. This would make Alia the new guardian of the Miracle Box, as well as the new holder of the Ladybug Miraculous. Now, we know that Ladybug and Cat Noir will both get the chance to grow up and become adults. However, this still feels like major foreshadowing to me. It's entirely possible that Marinette has to give up her guardianship in the later half of season 6 or a future season, but it's something that is later reversed by Bunnix, maybe. It wouldn't be the first or second or even third time Miraculous has had a huge plot point like that happen, only to use time travel to reverse the effects of it. I wouldn't be shocked if that's something they're setting up here, especially considering the fact that there wouldn't really be a Miraculous Ladybug, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir if Marinette was no longer the guardian. The episode ends off with Marinette and Adrien having a cute little chat and Marinette admitting she's nervous, and I just hope that she'll be more comfortable around him moving forward. We also see Cerise sitting at the cafe Marinette and Adrien were at earlier, revealing that she was one of the people that ignored the little girl. She's seen writing in her notebook and moving in the shadows while using cryptic language like "you'll know nothing about me" and "I'm everywhere and nowhere" to further drive this idea of her wish to remain anonymous. I really liked having this little bit at the end of the episode, and I also like how they're setting her up. I only hope that moving forward, they aren't afraid to give Ladybug more of a difficult time with her. Not necessarily more losses per se, but it would just be nice to see her struggle and not just blow every fight out of the water like she did countless times with Hawkmoth's villains. I think the episodes where she struggled and doesn't come off as all-powerful have been some of the best so far, and I hope that they continue to show her struggle, especially with how they're setting up Cerise to be this huge villain. Wrapping up, I just wanted to mention the animation change once more. I know many people were displeased when we got our first looks, and many are still displeased now. I'll admit, when I first saw the screenshots and the first small trailer we had gotten, I was extremely disappointed as well. But seeing these new trailers and this episode, I have to admit the animation looks far more polished now compared to what it was. I think it's very hard for people to adapt to such a sudden change, especially if you've been a fan of the show for a long time. Personally, I grew up on this show. It came out while I was in middle school, and I still tune in now as a grown adult. There is that feeling of nostalgia that comes from watching the old animation, so I understand why changing that has upset many people. Still, they likely will never go back, so it's a change we'll need to get used to regardless. If you've liked this video, consider leaving a like, a comment, or hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!